Now in his first full season in Alcohol Funny Cars, Al DiPozo is getting set to go, and his opponent is going to be Bob Newberry from Schenectady, New York.
A couple of old Firenzas are going at it head-to-head in this one. Newberry, again, one of the slickest looking machines in all of drag racing. I was up close with that machine for quite some time this weekend, and I tell you, it leaves a very big and positive impression.
This should be a good run here. It's DiPozo against Bob Newberry. Newberry is in the near lane and DiPozo in the far lane. Christmas tree lights begin to come on as the staging process is about to be completed.
Newberry makes him wait. They both hit the line. We're getting a readout on the reaction times. It's 0.37 against 0.62, so that was close at that end, but Newberry pulls it out.
He sure did, but it was a close race all the way down, but Bob Newberry has a 634 to DiPozo's 640, and just a slight advantage for Newberry on the reaction time.
It's commonplace for those reaction times to be well within 1/10 of a second. Newberry was 3/100 of a second, DiPozo 6/100 of a second. There's just a little more margin than that, however, at the finish line.
Beat him by just about a car length, so Bob Newberry will move into the finals of Alcohol Funny Car competition. And now getting set to go, Don DeFluter from Kent, Ohio, against the number 2 man in the 1986 world point standings, Greg Moss from Fenton, Missouri. That's a familiar name as far as locations and hometowns for race drivers, and we'll determine here the opponent for Bob Newberry in the finals.
And Kent, Ohio, Bob, is also a real solid locale for drag racers, and DeFluter is just the latest of several that have come from that city. He's, by the way, coming off of a great race with Carol Henson in the last round.
And Greg Moss would like certainly to move up 1 notch this year and win the '87 World Championship in Alcohol Funny Cars here in the IHRA. Moss is in the near lane, as you can see, DeFluter far lane. Green light flashes on. Good start for both. Oh, DeFluter is across the center lane. He's disqualified, and Greg Moss moves to the finals.
Oh, wait till you hear this reaction time. As it turns out now, Moss with a 6.3, 2:14. He did not need to hit the reaction time right on the money, but boy, did he ever. Well, we'll look at this start a couple of times again and let you kind of predict what you think the reaction time might have been. Immediately after passing the guard beam, DeFluter is headed toward the center line. He didn't have a chance. It looked like he was driving that direction.
Now look at the reaction time. The green light flashes on, and in less than a wink of an eye, Greg Moss is off the line. What was it, Larry?
4/1000 of a second. That's 0.004. You cannot hit it that quick. He had to get lucky and call the green light at just the right time.
More semifinal action coming up from the All-Pro Winter Nationals at Darlington, South Carolina Dragway.
Wherever in the world you go, it's BDO Instruments, the last word in quality, dependability. Performance tachometers compatible with all ignition systems. Night design backlit dial with your choice of color illumination. Vintage styling with modern accents. Or traditional Series 1 styling. BDO Instruments for performance, street, custom, off-road. BDO Instruments, the absolute finest.
Motorcraft quality parts travel with a fast crowd. Like funny car champion Mark Oswald. Pro stock champs Ricky Smith and Bob Glidden. Off-road champ Manny Esquera. Top NASCAR driver Ricky Rudd. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
You won't believe what's happening inside your muffler. Rust that starts on the inside is eating its way through. The Napa Advantage muffler with Absorbite helps prevent internal rust. The inside of this muffler was not protected with Absorbite. This muffler was. You can see the difference. The Napa Advantage is even covered by a lifetime warranty. Of course, you may never have to use it. The Napa Advantage. It puts rust at a disadvantage. Available at thousands of Napa outlets.
Whether you've ever raced or not, TCI makes you part of the legend. TCI transmissions, torque converters, and parts for champion drag racers and you. Street Fighter transmissions and torque converters for street strip action. Cobra converters for Super Gas and Super Comp. Street Commando automatic shifters for Firebirds and Camaros. Wherever you are, whatever you drive, you are part of the legend with TCI. Transmissions, torque converters, and parts for the racer and you.
Back at Darlington Dragway, you can see some, looks like routine maintenance going on in the Ricky Smith pit. He'll be going up against Tim Neighbors in the semifinal round of Pro Stock, but it doesn't look like they're too concerned, Larry.
I guess the combination of Thunderbird, all those aerodynamics, and a string of 190-mile-an-hour runs, and just a little bit of enthusiasm into the crowd.
There are the brackets we have left for Pro Dragsters. It'll be Joe Amato against Hank Indrist, and then Michael Brotherton against Daryl Gwynn. The winners of those go into the finals.
Obviously, Amato and Gwynn go in as the favorites in these semis.
And here is Joe Amato, who defeated Bob Strauss in the quarterfinal round, and Hank Indrist, who beat Bill Mullins.
Amato on a brand new machine. First pass was Friday afternoon. He's had the top mile per hour of the meet in qualifying, 259, and his reaction time's right down there. And for the Pro Dragsters, anything under 0.2 of a second is pretty strong.
There you can see the canopy over both drivers. Part of the new wave of Pro Dragster competition.
If there's been a handicap this year, or in this meet, it's been the left lane. It hasn't been working as well as the right.
Here we go. Green light flashes on. Amato jumps out to an early lead, and he defeats Hank Indrist.
And so much for the handicap of the left lane.
And look at this. It's a 2:59.36, and that is going to establish a world record as far as speed is concerned. That breaks Jody Smart's record set back in September of 1983.
And that is the backup for the earlier run, Bob. The combination of all that Tide soap, I guess, they apply to the strip and the scrubbing and all the fire engine hoses apparently have solved whatever problem that might have existed either on the track or in the mines on the left lane.
Here's the kid, Daryl Gwynn. He defeated Gene Snow in the quarterfinals. He's getting set to go against Michael Brotherton, who defeated John Kerry in the quarterfinals. That favorite would have to be Daryl Gwynn, but it's been a good afternoon for Brotherton.
Yeah, it really has. Brotherton has been the pleasant surprise of the weekend for this rookie driver. Gwynn, however, is driving a machine that gets a lot of attention from Kenny Bernstein and Dale Armstrong and that crew. This is his first ever IHRA appearance. It's a car that has shed about 150 pounds since it first appeared this year. They've taken off some of the aerodynamics and gone for a little less weight. They have found that it was worth to their advantage.
That long, sleek body on the Daryl Gwynn machine, sponsored by Budweiser and Quaker State, 290 inches, the wheelbase. Oh, and off to a good start is Daryl Gwynn. It's all over right now. Gwynn defeats easily Michael Brotherton, and the ET is going to be a 6:10 for Daryl Gwynn, a 165.13 mile-an-hour run.
Well, Gwynn saw right at the line. As soon as he left the line, Brotherton either missed the light, decided, well, I don't want to blow this one up. Daryl's got me covered. But Daryl also witnessed exactly what had happened, and so you can see he's got the race won already.
Yeah, it's a good start by Daryl Gwynn, a reaction time of 1:99, and from there on it was easy sailing for Daryl. So he and Joe Amato will go into the finals of the All-Pro Winter Nationals here at Darlington.
Next, on to the semifinals in the Pro Stock division. Veterans all, Roy Hill versus Billy Ewing, and Ricky Smith versus Tim Neighbors. And this could be two very stout runs, to use that word we heard a little earlier.
Roy Hill from Sophia, North Carolina, defeated Jim Ruth a little bit earlier in the quarterfinal rounds, and Billy Ewing had an easy win over Gary Hajek.
Bob, Roy Hill got a lot of attention earlier this year when his name appeared in USA Today, involved in a string of racers who have been indicted for drug smuggling charges. The charges have been dropped. He has been acquitted. The judge ruled that there was circumstantial evidence that was involved with Roy. It involved his former team and not him directly. And he's a free man, and this is a brand new team, and he hopes that 1987 will be a clean slate.
Semi-final round, Pro Stock, Roy Hill against Billy Ewing. Let's see what happens.
They jump off together at the line, and they are side by side a quarter of the way down. Hill looks like he's gaining the advantage. Turns it onto the top end, cranks off a 7.30, and Roy Hill moves to the finals.
I believe Ewing got the jump off the line, though, and was in the lead in the early stages, but then Roy Hill kicked in the go juice on that Ford Thunderbird and went on to victory.
You know, it's really interesting. If you try to stop a handheld stopwatch in 0.05 or 0.05 of a second, you can't do it. That was the difference in the reaction times, but it was visible on the strip.
It'll be a Chevrolet Camaro against a Ford Thunderbird here in the other semifinal round. Tim Neighbors will be driving the Camaro. He defeated Frank Iaconio in the quarterfinals, and Ricky Smith, who turned in a 762, a 192. A mile-an-hour run earlier.
Smith in the aerodynamic Ford Thunderbird. There's Tim Neighbors. And I found out this week something that surprised me, Bob. It's not just the nose on the new Thunderbirds, by the way, the same body style that's being used in Winston Cup stock car racing, but much of the aerodynamic advantage they are discovering in the wind tunnel is from the middle of the top of the car on back, which kind of surprised me because I thought the front end was the biggest contributor. Semi-final round. Neighbors almost crosses the center line. He's too far out of shape. He's out of the throttle. And Ricky Smith gets a waltz into the final.
Look at the ET 726, so 192.30, and the reaction time for Ricky Smith is 0.050. Is Ricky Smith going to pick up where he left off last year and repeat as IHRA world champion? Well, he's going to go into the finals against Roy Hill. Here's the run, though. You can see Neighbors getting out of shape right off the line.
I called this a waltz, but I think it's more like a fast foxtrot.
So Ricky Smith defeats Tim Neighbors in the semis, and we will have him up against Roy Hill a little bit later in our program. Coming up next, however, is the Pro Alcohol Funny Car Final.
The new Harvey's Resort Hotel Casino Lake Tahoe. Expect a Tahoe like you've never seen before. The new Harvey's Lake Tahoe. 3-day, 2-night getaways for two from $39 per person per night. The new Harvey's Lake Tahoe. For reservations, call toll-free.
It's the Great American Shape-Up at Mira Vista Lincoln Mercury. Picture yourself in the shape, from tracers to touring limousines and everything in between. At Mira Vista, there's no hassle, no hang-up, and no hurry, because we're your professional dealership. We feature the all-new Tracer, the world's nicest used cars, and our AAA-rated service department with limo service for your convenience. We do more for you at Mira Vista Lincoln Mercury, centrally located off Route 80 in Richmond. Look for the Turbine at the Auto Plaza adjacent to Hilltop Mall.
All the latest news and results from the world of drag racing and other motorsports. Thursdays on ESPN. Speed Week, the driving force in race coverage. 7:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. One of our features at each IHRA race is the question of the week.
Who was your childhood idol and why?
Well, Don Garlitz is probably the guy I watched race the most and always admired. Now we have to race him. So the only way to become a legend is to beat one in his own game, even though it's hard.
I went to my first drag race when I was 7 years old in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they had to take me off the fence after Don Garlitz won the race.
How about Batman?
Probably in sports at that time, my childhood idol would have been Bobby Lane and Johnny Unitas, because they were always successful and they won a lot.
Probably Bill Jenkins. He just always was a big Chevrolet campaigner, and just always looked up to him. He was the guy that really run good and something you could always shoot for to hope to be as good as he was.
Well, I would have to say Ronnie Stocks. He's from North Carolina, and that's where I was growing up from. And, you know, Ronnie used to be real tough. He's won a lot of championships. And when he quit, he was tough. If he come back today, he'd be tough.
Robin Hood. He always won.
Probably Ted Nugent. Because when I first started racing, I used to play in a rock band, and then I took the choice to go racing, and here I am.
I guess Clint Eastwood. And why? He's just a tough guy.
Well, there's some diversified answers. Batman, Ted Nugent, Clint Eastwood.
Johnny Unitas.
All right, we go into the semifinal round of the Pro Funny Cars, and it's going to be Tom McEwen against Ed McCullough.
Bob, for Pro Nitro Funny Cars at Darlington, this is the classic matchup in the history of this drag strip. These two drivers are tied with the best historical winning percentage in match racing here at Darlington at 800 apiece. So it's McCullough versus McEwen, and winner take all, I guess, here, although he has to move on to the finals, and one of them may well be looking at Bernstein. We'll see how it goes.
Well, it's going to be the battle of the beers as the Tom McEwen Corvette, sponsored by Coors, and the Aces machine, the Olds Ferenda, sponsored by Miller. Here we go. Oh, a good start for Ed McCullough in the far lane. He pops the chute too soon, though. He lost it, I believe, because he popped the chute too soon.
Bobby had a couple of things going wrong. A lot of smoke beginning to pour out from underneath the hood. As you can see, McEwen, the winner, there are his elapsed times in miles per hour. And McEwen may well have been a little concerned, or make that McCullough may well have been a little concerned that maybe he was going to scatter one, drop a little oil underneath, so he popped the chute, and the resultant air slowed him down and kept him from winning.
Well, a mistake that you see rarely in drag racing, but Ed McCullough made it, and it allows Tom McEwen to move into the finals. Here is the Budmobile, also sponsored by Quaker State. The Buick LeSabre, driven by Kenny Bernstein. His opponent is going to be Tom Hoover.
Bernstein, his 9th year of IHRA competition. He's won at Darlington at least in 4 different events here. 1981, 83, 85, and 85. Lots of success, but never a championship, of course, and in several other meets. But Hoover, in his Showtime Trans Am, the Minnesota driver, looks to his left and sees the mountain standing next to him.
Well, he has his work cut out for him, Tom Hoover does, but anything can happen. Kenny Bernstein getting set to go. There's the green light. Let's see what happens. Bernstein and Hoover down the strip, close together, but Bernstein has it at the end of the strip.
It's not going to go into the record books as a victory for Tom Hoover, but psychologically, that's got to be considered to be a win. He was right in there. You
better believe it. Hoover with a 579, but Bernstein with a 571. Hoover did have a better mile per hour out of that run at 256.4 compared to a 255.6 for Bernstein.
But Bernstein will take the win, and every good drag racer will tell you it doesn't make any difference what the maximum speed is. What counts is how long it takes you to go from the start line to the finish line.
Now to the Alcohol Funny Car Finals. It is Bob Newberry from Schenectady, New York against Fenton, Missouri's Greg Moss. And again, Moss finished second in the world point standings last year in IHRA. He would like to get a good run here today and win. Bunny Burkett, the defending champion in this division, was eliminated early.
Moss is pre-staged, waiting for Newberry to move up. Newberry now moves up. Moss, of course, coming out of drag boats. He's been very consistent all weekend long. 6.3, 6.3, 6.3 in his last 3 runs. Can Newberry catch him?
Newberry finally staged. Now the green light goes on.
Down the strip, side by side, door handle to door handle. Moss moves over just a little bit, and Newberry really buries him in the top end.
And we have a new ET track record, 6:31 by Bob Newberry at 221.13.
A monstrous win for Newberry, and what a way to start a brand new season. The man who almost won the championship a year ago goes down to defeat. Moss is going to be a factor again, but Newberry looks like he will also be.
Well, we're going to replay the start here. You can see just a little bit of shake on the Moss car as he gets off the line, and that certainly spelled the end of his race as Greg Moss ended up losing to Bob Newberry. Let's go down to Brett Kepner.
Unbelievable. 6.31 seconds, and the earlier 6:34 will back that up for a new world ET record.
Feels good.
Well, I know this is your first time in the IHRA winner's circle, but certainly on behalf of ESPN, that was a heck of a race, defeating #2 in the world from last year. Congratulations.
He's a tough opponent, and we'll be back. Thank you very much.
So we've crowned one champion. It's Bob Newberry, but we have other champions to crown, and we'll be back to do that. After these messages, we're at the All-Pro Winter Nationals.
Heaven on earth. Don't get him started about his car.
Hey, Pete, toss me the Quaker Steak.
This new Quaker Steak with QSX is a miracle. It gives car-carrying people superior engine protection. Look at the sludge conventional motor oils leave behind. New Quaker Steak with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And that means I might spend the rest of my life in heaven.
Warned you.
Motorcraft quality parts travel with a fast crowd. Like funny car champion Mark Oswald. Pro stock champs Ricky Smith and Bob Glidden. Off-road champ Manny Esquera. Top NASCAR driver Ricky Rudd. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
Bob Jenkins, Larry Nuber, and Brett Kepner back at the All-Pro Internationals at Darlington Dragway in South Carolina. Ready for the Pro Stock Finals. It's going to be Ricky Smith in the near lane against Roy Hill.
And Hill in the far lane is one of the few men in head-to-head competition, championship competition, that has defeated Ricky Smith.
Smith is staged. Hill staged. Red light for Roy Hill. You saw it go on just as Smith blew away from the line. Roy Hill, red lights, and Ricky Smith registers win number 1 in IHRA.
Bob, and it was an unusual red light. It wasn't the traditional kind that somebody over jumps the green light. It looked almost like Hill red lighted before the tree change. I don't know how that's possible. Now the clock there is wrong. It is 1:91, but the big story is on top.
It's the ET, a 7:17, and that's going to be a new track record for ET in Pro Stock. And if Ricky only had the chance to back it up, he would have a world record, a 7:17 for Ricky Smith.
Now let's look very carefully again on the right-hand side. Roch Hill. You see that he'd actually moved before the tree began to flash yellow, yellow, green. Roy Hill with an unusual red light, but doesn't make any difference. A red light is still a red light, and that's a loss.
And so Ricky Smith is the winner in Pro Stock. We move to the funny car finals, and it's Kenny Bernstein against Tom McEwen. Bernstein in the near lane. This should be a classic matchup.
Bernstein versus McEwen. And the way things have been going for Bernstein the last 18, 24 months, McEwen has got to be thinking one of two things. Either I have got to guess exactly right when that Christmas tree starts to light down. I've kind of wiped out of my mind the fact that this left lane may be a handicap. It's not. I've seen people win here. Or the other thing is, maybe something will go wrong underneath Bernstein's car.
Once again, a battle of the beers. Budweiser against Coors. Bernstein has the lead at the midpoint. At the top end, he also has it, and Kenny Bernstein wins.
It's a great example of how winning a race, like in any form of racing, there you can see 5.73, 256 miles per hour, how in any race, a good start is not enough. You've got to be strong all the way down, and the strength of Bernstein as he reached the very top of that mountain is what really propelled him to the win. Kenny Bernstein has picked up yet another championship.
Well, Kenny, again, not your best run stopping out there on the track. 573, enough to do the job.
Well, that's what it takes. You know, some days you just have to do that. Dale and the crew just did a super job on the Budweiser Quaker State Buick, and anytime you can win, whether it's your best elapsed time or not, it doesn't matter. Just winning's all it's about. A little bit of smoke out there. You may have had some engine damage. I just told Dale that it quivered real hard right when I shut off. I had the shoot out and off the throttle, but it quivered like it may have broke a rod or something. There's nothing out the side, but I'm sure something's wrong. Well, I'll tell you, regardless of what's underneath this body, despite the controversy that we've talked about, has proven itself over and over. Well, I think it is. I think the Buick has obviously looked good here, especially with a track that's got a lot of sand on it. It's not conducive to run really fast down here, and it's hard to get down, but it worked, and that's what happens. Well, the Bernstein touch shone through it, and the first win of the year, heading for another world championship. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that man has an amazing record on ESPN. It seems like he wins every Pro Funny Car race that we have here on ESPN. Well, now on to the Pro Dragster Final. We haven't seen this point in IHRA competition in 3 years. We have reached it now. Pro Dragsters, the finals, Darrell Gwynn against Joe Amato.
The battle of the emerging and evolving body styles. Both of these people have made dramatic changes from their super streamlined, super slick bodies over the last 6 months, indeed over the last 6 weeks from what they had earlier. And I think both cars are continually in a state of flux, and there's going to be more change, but we'll see who has made the right changes up to this point. That's Gwynn on the bottom and Amato on top.
Finals in Pro Dragster.
Clean start. Away even.
At the midpoint. And a big puff of smoke from Darrell Gwynn's car, and Joe Amato has the championship.
Bob, that Darrell Gwynn, they've had a weekend of ongoing engine damage, and I don't think it comes as any surprise. I'm sure they went to this final with their fingers crossed, but it just wasn't to be.
It's a 5:47 ET for Joe Amato and a 265.48 mile-an-hour run in his victory over Darrell Gwynn.
It definitely bears worth repeating. Amato must think that IHRA is one of his good luck charms. He seems to do very well with IHRA.
Well, let's go down to Brett Kepner, who has the winner of the Pro Dragster Finals, Joe Amato.
Joe Amato out of the car as the helmet comes off. What a way to start 1987. The return of the Pro Dragsters, Joe, and you're now the king of this particular division. How about 265 miles per hour in the final round?
I told you we had some horsepower left.
Unbelievable. I know Gwynn has had a lot of problems, and again, something went away. He was a dead player by three-quarter track.
Well, it was alongside me from the beginning, but I knew the car had the power, and we've been fighting it all weekend as far as just trying to get enough power for the track. But Tim Richards and the crew came through, and the TRW Dragster. We've been in the final. The last 4 races we raced, we've been in the final 3 times. This is the 4th race. So, you know, always things happen to me in streaks of 3. We lost 3 times, runner-up, so now that we won one. So hopefully we'll go on to Gainesville, and, you know, we'll continue the win streak.
Well, a very, very happy crew pulling back around. And again, the TRW crew doing a fantastic job. The ET, by the way, 5.47 seconds, ties the track record and one of the quickest runs ever in IHRA competition.
It's exciting to come here and, you know, just sneak up on a little bit at a time. It gives us a good start on the year, too, to go into the next race with the momentum's on our side, you know. Brand new car.
Our champions have been crowned here at the All-Pro Winter Nationals, and we'll be back with some closing comments after these messages. Stay with us.
Wear the color and excitement of championship drag racing in your authentic International Hot Rod Association t-shirt, free with this special TV offer for Drag Review, the official magazine of the IHRA. 24 action-packed issues, only $24.95. Plus, you get a sew-on cloth patch, car window decal, and full membership in the International Hot Rod Association, drag racing's fastest-growing association. Twice monthly, Drag Review magazine brings you all the news of what's happening in the action-packed world of IHRA drag racing, plus the latest technical information. Call now, special TV offer. Order your Drag Review magazine, become a member of the International Hot Rod Association, and get an authentic IHRA t-shirt. Drag Review, 24 issues, only $24.95. Call now, 1-800-554-9000. Operators are standing by. Use Visa, MasterCard, or pay COD. Drag Review, 24 issues, only $24.95, plus special IHRA t-shirt bonus. Tell operator your t-shirt size. Call 1-800-554-9000.
And so event number 1 on the IHRA calendar for 1987 has been completed. No real major surprises, Larry.
No real major surprises, but you know the record books will show this as a meet of time and speed. But for me, I think it's one more of personalities. Bob Glidden, one of the most humble superstars in all of sport, missing 200 miles an hour by just a blink of the eye. And then Ricky Smith, the continued humble competence of him, and Joe Amato trying to reassert himself, and the youngster Darrell Gwynn poised and ready to challenge.
By the way, our next event on the IHRA schedule will be next month. That'll be the Motorcraft Pro-Am Nationals from Rockingham, North Carolina. Could Glidden go 200 then? Well, we'll see. Right now, let's go down to Brett Kepner for some closing comments.
It's definitely been a wild way to open up the 1987 IHRA drag racing season with record speeds and elapsed times in virtually every category of competition, including, of course, that 202-mile-per-hour run in the sportsman categories. With 265-mile-per-hour dragsters, 7.17-second pro stockers, and 6.3-second alcohol funny cars, it looks like 1987 is going to be a big, big year on the IHRA World Championship Tour. ESPN will be there to cover it. Back to you, gentlemen.
All right, Brett, the All-Pro Winter Nationals have been brought to you by Motorcraft Quality Parts. For all makes of cars, Motorcraft exceeds the need. And by Drag Review, all you need to know about drag racing. My thanks to Brett Kepner and Larry Nuber. While we watch the celebration of Joe Amato and his victory in Pro Dragsters today, this is Bob Jenkins. Thank you for joining us. For now, so long, everyone.